it really took me dying to realize that I really wanted to live, that I really wanted to make a difference somehow. There wasn't anything special about this beach trip. It was just an end of the season. I remember putting my feet in the water and not getting very deep because I had been recovering from neck surgery. Then I remember taking some pictures on the balcony, and a few on the way to the restaurant. But then my memory gets quite hazy after we stopped for one last photo at the Neptune statue.
Once we finally got back, I think you were straight to bed. It was all about trying to cool you down, and then it was definitely, there was something wrong.
And then I remember waking up the next morning. At urgent care, they said no big deal, just tonsillitis. And I was like, cool, and went on my way, hopped on a plane. It had looked like maybe I put my hand in some kind of chemical solution. It was really kind of weird, and so I just washed my hands and I brushed it off. Within the next 24 to 48 hours, the blisters really started to spread beyond my hands. I woke up and I couldn't move out of bed. I felt like my joints were on fire. Don't laugh! If you could take away all my sickness, what would we do for the day?
Go to the beach.
Go to the beach.
Go to the beach, ride a bunch of roller coaster rides.
Oh, there are beaches that have amusement parks there.
Oh, and you would eat so much red meat.
When you got there, actually, you seemed like you were actually in a good place when you got there. Where it really sunk in, where something like incredibly serious, and I mean like life-threatening serious, was when number one, you had issues eating from then on out for a while. And like there were times where you couldn't even get out even the simplest of words or sentences. And it wasn't one of those, like you'll see the funny videos on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, where people get words crossed and they just, for whatever reason, they can't get it out in the right order. It was beyond that. It was like the words didn't exist in your mind. There's a time when somebody's sick where you can see them and you go, all right, that looks like I feel like they're on the mend. And then 2 hours into our drive, it was like a really hard, downward spiral from there.
I ended up staying in bed for most of the day. I told Chris to explore and have some fun. At some point, I had to get up and use the bathroom. And I remember sitting there on the toilet, and I just could not get up.
I think I decided you needed to go to the hospital while we were in Los Angeles. I think it happened well before the flight home.
At the hospital, there was a flurry of doctors, and it wasn't too long before they admitted me. I was diagnosed with adult onset Kawasaki's disease, which typically presents in children of Asian descent. I spent 3 weeks at 2 different hospitals before they said that I was well enough to go home. During this time, they refused to take a second look at things. When I got home, that's when really things took a turn for the worse.
Not that you were avoiding food, you just literally couldn't hold it down. And like I get it, for me it was frustrating because I'm like, well, what the heck, just eat more, let's find something else. And nothing really seemed to work though. Nothing that had any substance in it. But then it escalated really quickly from there.
This went on for about 20 days before my doctors finally decided to put me back on steroids. Every time they'd put me on the steroids, I would improve, only to come off of them and my symptoms to be worse. This cycle of steroids and hospitalizations went on for a while until insurance finally decided to approve infusion treatments. The infusions were really hard, both physically and to have my family watch. When my doctor told me that maybe I should just go get a second opinion instead of doing anything, really rubbed me in a kind of way.
Like a big reason we moved to Colorado when we did was because of your health. I think it benefited you leaving Virginia and coming to Colorado. The weather is not agreeable to your conditions at all, but the medical care, if I'm being honest, it may have been the time that it happened, but the medical care in Virginia everything was about COVID, except for the fact that you had whatever you were going through had nothing to do with COVID. So I think it significantly delayed appropriate levels of treatment, and it nearly killed you.
Within 3 visits between dermatology and a GI specialist, we concluded that I had several types of psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and a Crohn's-like bowel disease. Now, this isn't something that can be cured right now. All we can really do is symptom management.
It's obvious that you need a lot of flexibility still. Maybe not to the extent from a couple of years ago, but there are days that I think are a little more challenging than others. I don't feel the need to do anything like red light therapy before I get my day started. I don't have to lotion, 10 times a day just so that my skin doesn't start cracking and opening up. Yeah, I don't have to wear gloves to do just even simple tasks. I don't have to put on gloves to wash the dishes.
I was so weak that I really couldn't care for myself, and I'm talking basic tasks.
I think the one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand, and I haven't told many people, I've only told a couple, and to a certain extent I feel like they're like, oh, he's over exaggerating. But I legitimately thought you were gonna die.
What if miracles weren't fiction on a page, only written? You could see it, you could hear it, you could feel it, you could live it. I build castles on the sky, wouldn't need wings to fly, I just try. What if things didn't just happen? Happy accidents became magic.